Hello everyone and welcome back to another book review. Today I am going to be reviewing volume 2 in a series that I just started, but I love the first volume so much. That is Ennead. This is by Mojito and it was originally an online webcomic is my understanding. So today I'm going to be reviewing volume 2. I'm going to be discussing the plot, so what is covered in volume 2 and what you can expect from it, as well as my thoughts on the book so far or the series thus far, what I'm loving about it, some things that I have questions about, and then give you space to give me feedback and maybe tell me what you thought about some of the things that I talked about. Now, because sometimes when I review these webcomic to actual volume books, I get questions in the comments asking what part of the webcomic is included in the volume. It says on the introduction page that volume 2 contains chapters 11 through 24 of the web serialization. So if you did have that question, that is what is covered in volume 2. So let's dive in. I do have my review of volume 1 on the channel if you need an overview, but we're going to just jump in and talk about the plot that happened in volume 2. So the setup of this series is Seth, the god of war, has had control over Egypt, and Horus is looking to dethrone him and take his control of Egypt instead. Seth has kind of been an aggressive, a warful, a angry, a violent god, so he's caused a lot of suffering in Egypt, and Horus is hoping to dethrone him. The agreement is there's going to be a competition of 3 events in which Seth and Horus are going to face each other, and the winner is going to be able to be the rightful king of Egypt. So Horus is trying to seek control, and Seth is the one who's attempting to regain control. And this is going to be over 3 competitions. Competition number 1 is covered in this book, and competition number 2 starts. So the first competition was an underwater breath holding contest. So as we can see, these challenges are going to be quite difficult. Horus is not fully a god yet, well Seth is, but Horus has the backing of the other gods in the pantheon, so he does have a little bit of an advantage. So while they're underwater, Seth immediately tries to start playing dirty. He doesn't really care, he just wants to win, and there's not a lot of rules around this competition, so I'm not even sure what he did was illegal or against the rules, but he starts to attack Horus. Now Horus, of course, while not being a god himself, has additional protection from the people around him, but there was an unforeseen hiccup in the plan in which by being underwater, the protection of the sky goddess, which was supposed to be very potent, is not quite capable of being like fully powerful because the under the water isn't quite under the sky. It's like more below. There's no sky under the water. So the gods are kind of playing out this power battle in which the gods are trying to back Horus, while Seth, who is quite powerful himself, is trying to win this competition so he can regain, or retain, I should say, not regain, retain control of Egypt. Now, as you can probably guess, Seth wins this one quite handily, although Horus does put up quite a good fight because the gods were, despite their best attempts, unable to best Seth underwater. So then we have a little interlude before the next competition in which we meet a woman named Hathor, which is a known goddess, of course, but Hathor approaches Horus and decides that she's going to give him a blessed mirror. And immediately we get the sense that something's a little off with this mirror, but we're not quite sure what. So, and Horus gets the sense too, it's not just the reader, and he takes it home, and we're not really sure what Hathor's doing, but Horus gets sucked into the mirror where he learns that Seth's wife is being kept captive. Now this sets up a whole mystery which is not resolved in this volume because Seth's wife also exists in the real world, as Horus knows. So who is Seth's wife who's captured in the mirror who is different? There is a little bit of some plot convenience in whatever Seth's wife tells Horus, when he leaves the mirror realm, he forgets everything. So Horus does not understand what's going on. Once he leaves, he has all that information removed from his mind, so he has removed so he's removed from the mirror, he leaves the mirror realm because Seth's wife helps him leave, and we're not, at least I'm not entirely sure if Hathor intended for that or what exactly is going on, but then we can't dwell too long on this mysterious mirror that's occurring because Horus has to attend the second competition, which does not conclude in this book, but is a stone boat racing, so I'll leave that alone because that doesn't conclude in this. There's another plot going on in Anubis. Anubis is kind of similar to Horus. Anubis is actually the son of Seth and Seth's wife, who we now know there's 2 versions of, sort of. Anubis is also not fully a god. He hasn't grown to the godlike power, and it's not clear why he isn't growing like that. And we kind of see him as a counterpoint to Horus, I would almost say. He also is in a difficult position in his father is kind of the person everyone's fighting against, which has to be quite difficult. And Anubis is kind of tied to his mother, in who can't seem to shake her loyalty to Seth, even though Seth is not very kind to her. And we do see Anubis start to get some character development where he starts to decide his own way on life in this volume. So that's what I'm going to say about the plot. We have some competition going along as we have some other characters also getting involved in the mix, either through magical mirrors or their own path to godhood, like through Anubis or Hathor with her magical mirror, and some mysteries start to open up through the course of the competition. So now we're going to dive into my actual thoughts on the book overall. I think the plot has been set up moving into volume 2. The art is fantastic and the setup was interesting in volume 1, but volume 2, I feel like the story is really underway and we have some mysteries to resolve. We have Hathor in the mirror. What was that about? We have Seth's wife, why is there one trapped in the mirror who seems to know that there's a doppelganger or some other thing that looks like her in the outside world, and that is the same woman who... Now we have questions about who is Anubis and how is he going to grow into his own person, especially when he has this loyalty to Seth, who is a warmongering god. Does he continue with that? How does that continue? So we have all these things set up and now I feel like the plot can advance. I think the competition for the throne is a little bit contrived. I mean, wouldn't Seth just kill everyone and take the throne if he really wanted to? Maybe he can't. Maybe he thinks he's going to win and this is a way to gain legitimacy by going through this competition. I'm not sure. I do feel like it was a little contrived, but I'm okay with just letting it continue for the plot, the purpose of the plot. I'm okay with just, allowing that to go, although I'm fine with it. It was a little contrived. And I also kind of thought the outcome of the first 2 competitions feel contrived, even though I haven't seen the end of competition 2. Maybe I'm going to be completely wrong. So I knew Horus wasn't just going to come out and win 1, 2. And sure enough, he didn't win 1, so he has to win 2, or Seth has done 2 of 3 and is enough to secure his throne. So a curveball could be thrown. Seth could win 1 and 2, and now there's a whole new problem on can we dethrone Seth, because we've said that we're going to recognize the legitimacy of whoever wins this competition. So that could be a unique take that it takes. But I definitely knew going into it that the first 2 competitions were definitely not just going to be Horus winning 1, 2, Seth dethroned, everything's good, because that's just not how these sort of stories work. Now we've covered some of these. I want to get into some of the other aspects of this book, and that's the boys' love aspect. So this was advertised as boys' love, which I did not see in volume 1. So I was a little confused as to where the boys' love was going to come in, and it came in volume 133, and now I just have the question why. I have the question why because the 2 characters introduced as the boys' love protagonists, which are obviously Horus and Seth, have absolutely no reason to fall for each other. I did not see this coming. Well, I mean, maybe I had a little inkling because I knew it was boys' love and I figured they were going for some sort of like enemies to lovers, blah, blah, blah. I don't really understand because I have not felt any sexual tension between these 2 characters in the first volume and a half of the book. I feel like there's been no buildup, and that scene came out of absolutely nowhere. I'm not sure where it came from. I'm not sure what the relationship is between them. I'm not sure if there's a past relationship that's going to be explored in a future volume. I don't know where that came from. It kind of came out of nowhere, and I felt like the buildup wasn't there for that scene. I'm also not entirely sure why it happened in the middle of the fight, what was going on. And I'm not sure also if that scene depicted was... I'm 90% sure that scene depicted of them kissing in the middle of the battle was what actually happened and Horus was recalling it, or if that was... Because that scene is shown when Horus is recalling the battle when he is confronted for not finishing the battle soundly. And Horus then recalls the scene where Seth is kissing him and he's thinking... I don't know if he's recalling what happened or if he's fantasizing about what he wanted to happen, because in the actual battle, they were only shown close to each other's faces. Nothing else was shown. So I was, this is what's shown. So I was not sure. I'm 90% sure Horus is recalling what happened, but I wasn't sure if that was an attempt of the author to show what Horus wishes would have happened, if I'm being clear there. If this was what actually happened or if this was fantasy. Again, I'm not sold on the boys' love, but I think the authors are going for the slow burn, so we're going to see a lot of buildup. Maybe there have been secret conversations. Maybe there has been past history between these two individuals, and we're just seeing it in this, and it was supposed to be surprising. I think that the rest of the book is good enough to think that the author isn't just throwing this relationship out there as it suddenly spontaneously bloomed into being in volume 2. I think there's some history there that I'm going to need to see, but I'm going to have to read volumes 3 and 4 to get that. On the note of volumes 3 and 4, I think there's only like one library in the state that has these volumes, and I'm gonna have to wait for them to get off new lists to be able to place holds on them. So there may be a little bit of a delay in getting volumes 3 and 4, but I hope some more libraries get those books and they come off new lists so I can place holds on them. That is just a restriction in my state. I'm not able to place holds on new books, not in my library. So I'm able to order books from any library in my state as long as it's not labeled as a new book. So kind of giving those libraries and their patrons the opportunity to enjoy the books first before they get shipped to other libraries. I am going to be reading volumes 3 and 4 though, because I am quite invested and I am enjoying this series. I'm just intrigued on the boys' love aspect, but I feel like there's enough other plot going on that I'm not too worried about that, and I trust the author's ability to pull this together in an entertaining book at the end. What did you think about volume 2? Am I completely off base with the boys' love section? Please let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.